Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another weekly LinkedIn live session. I'm your host, Thomas Cole. We have our co-host, Taylor Otto. Taylor, why don't you tell the team or the viewers about yourself and what we're going to be discussing today?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Taylor Otto. I'm an implementation consultant here at Discara. Excited to be back for another weekly webinar where we're going to be discussing flexible bombs and ad hoc bombs today and how that can help your business.
Awesome. So, Taylor, I know the first 3, 4 episodes that we did on our weekly live sessions, we discussed multi-level bombs, super bombs. I think the viewers are, well versed with that. Do you mind explaining what a flexible or ad hoc bomb is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we talked about bombs in a previous session. A flexible bomb or an ad hoc bomb, and what that makes or how that is unique is just the ability to make customizations without ruining the integrity of the SKU. There's two main use cases that we're going to be talking about today, whether that's just creating a product on the fly, whether maybe you get an order that's custom, or maybe you don't have an SKU for and you have the means to make it, or you're doing repairs where you need to maybe not every single work order is going to look the same. It's going to be the same product, but everything's a little bit different. We're going to be talking about both of those today.
Awesome. Thank you. We had actually done some research as well to do with how flexible bombs are being used by manufacturers here in the US. And we found that 52% of manufacturers in the United States were actually utilizing flexible or ad hoc bomb management systems to accommodate for dynamic production requirements market shifts. So what we're now seeing is, that shift into manufacturers making sure that their systems can handle bill of materials on the fly. But from that, we still have 48% of manufacturers who use a rigid system.
Yeah, absolutely. And without the ability to have those customizations, without creating a different SKU for every single use case, it does become incredibly difficult. So having that flexibility definitely makes it a lot easier to adhere to some of these use cases.
Right. And that kind of leads us to our next point, right? The use cases that you had mentioned initially. The first one was creating a bill of materials on the fly. So when I think of this, I typically think of a warehouse staff. Let's say a last minute order comes in and they already made that product before. They have the components to make that product, but they need specific changes within that. How does that kind of work in Discara?
Yeah. So again, the use case you just brought up, maybe you get an order that you don't have an SKU for, but you know that you have the materials required to make it. Maybe it's a custom order. Maybe there's a client that says, hey, I know you don't usually do this, but can you do this? And kind of have that easeability for a warehouse worker to just be like, yeah, sure, no problem. Whip up a work order without having to go into Material Master, get approval to create a different product or an SKU, and kind of go through those steps.
Yeah.
Going into Discara, kind of how that process would work is I can go create a work order, and I have the option to just create something completely new right away, just through the screen, or I can make modifications to an existing product. So, for example, if I'm making a chair and this client comes to me and says, hey, you don't usually do this, but can you make a purple chair for me? Very simply, I can delete this paint, add in a different material, and add whatever is needed for that, different color. So, hey, I got a purple paint here that I need to use instead. I can make that change. It's not going to affect my bill of materials here. Maybe, hey, I want a chair, but I don't want seat cushions. So you customize that for me. Very easy. I can delete that and make those modifications on the fly. Maybe I don't have an SKU for this type of product, but I can create this very quickly, and I can save that work order and have that show up so my workers can get started on that right away.
Awesome. And just out of curiosity, does that then affect the original bill of materials for the initial chair now that you've made those changes on there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And no, it doesn't. It doesn't affect the integrity of the original bill of materials set up for the chair. That is still intact. And that's kind of the beauty of just having a flexible BOM that allows you to make those customizations on the fly without changing anything.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. That actually kind of leads us to the next point of repairs. Now, when I think of repairs, I'm thinking of a car manufacturer, for example. They've made up the car, you buy the car, and suddenly you experience problems. Let's say the car stops working halfway through. You take it back to the dealership or the workshop, and for them to actually see what's going on, obviously they take apart the car and they realize that maybe there's parts of the engine that's not working well. Let's say it's the alternator, or let's say it's the crankshaft, I don't know, something along those lines, right? How does creating a bill of materials or ad hoc bill of materials on the fly, how will that benefit them as an organization?
Yeah, I would say that the kind of the main use case that we see, for an ad hoc BOM or a flexible BOM is for repairs, for businesses that do repairs. And for those that have repairs, they know that every order that comes in is not going to look the same. You spoke about the car example. Maybe I do repairs on cars where, hey, I have this car in the system. I know how to make it. Maybe we make cars, but we also do repairs. But I'm not going to use every material I have to build a new car. I'm going to fix what's broken, right? So we can take that product in, analyze it, see what's broken, and then adjust the bill of materials to reflect, hey, I'm replacing the mirror. So I'm going to add a mirror in here, but I don't need every other component that goes into a car.
We're building the whole car.
Exactly. So kind of transitioning into how we do that in Descara. I'm going to use the chair example again. So maybe I'm a company that, I do chair repairs, right? So I can take a look at this chair and I can see this is my stock bill of material. This is what it takes to create a chair. Now, again, I'm not creating a new chair. I'm not replacing this chair. I'm taking a chair that's existing already, fixing what is broken. So let's say, hey, I need to, fix my backrest. Maybe I've got a crack in the backrest and I need to repair that, right? So I'm going to replace the backrest with a new backrest, but I don't need the chair legs. I don't need the wood seat. Screws, maybe I need some screws, but not as many as usual. So I can edit that amount. They've already, this isn't a new chair. I don't need the instruction manual. I don't need to replace the seat cushions or anything like that. Maybe I don't need to paint it. But then I can analyze the situation here and say, hey, I am replacing the backrest. So I need one new backrest. I need screws to put that together. And then there's one more component with doing repairs, and that's labor, right? So, if you want to give an estimate to a client, you can add the material, non-track item of labor. Hey, how much is this going to cost? Hey, this is going to cost $100 to fix this chair for you. I've got all the costs in there. I've got what I need in the work order, and I can save that work order again. It says the product that I'm working with. I'm working on the chair, but I'm not utilizing every single component to make a chair. It's just situation dependent and what needs to be fixed.
And going back to that work order screen, I really like the fact that at the top of the work order, you can actually see what the estimated costs are. That you can then send over to your client, because obviously before you take the chair apart or the car apart, you may not know what's actually wrong with it. So you can't give them an estimate based on those figures, right?
And it tells you, what materials are you using? How much is that going to cost? Operator costs. How much is it going to cost me to pay my employees to build that chair? And then it gives me just a total estimated cost of what this is going to cost me. Helps me create an estimate for my, for the customer to make sure, hey, I'm, it's going to take this much to do this work, but I also still want to profit. So to make sure that there's some profit margins there. And kind of the beauty of this is with a work order, I have the option to just convert that immediately to an estimate. It's going to reflect that labor charge that I have on there. I can link it to a specific contact if I need to. And that unique work order that's for that specific contact is already linked for me when I go to convert this. So
that's
just
awesome.
excellent tools available that really help with every realm of repairs and making sure everything runs efficiently and smoothly and giving me the tools to fulfill those.
And from that estimate, from what I can see, right, you can't change that work order, right? So that work order is specific to that estimate. Am I correct?
That's correct, but I can always make changes. So if that estimate goes in and they say, hey, well, actually, I don't need a material in there, or hey, this is too much to pay. I've got a quote for a better, I got a better price. They're not charging me as much labor from another company. Do I want to match that? Sure, I can go in, change that amount in the labor, resend that estimate, because you want the business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you always have that flexibility.
Love the flexibility. Awesome. Awesome. That kind of leads us to the next point. So a customer comes in, you want to be able to track what that customer owned products look like, right? So the three main cases we typically hear are custom fields, virtual warehouses, and SKUs. From your experience, could you, give us some more insight into how this works in Descara and how beneficial it will be for the customer too?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in the business of repairs, you're inevitably going to be taking in products that you don't own. It doesn't mean that your inventory valuation goes up any higher because you don't own that product.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really important that you have a way to keep track of that inventory, whether it's yours or not. Again, the three that you mentioned, using custom fields to kind of put a name on it, for instance, using the use of virtual warehouses, SKUs, all of these I've seen, with our current customer or current clients are using these ways to track these customer-owned products. So it gives you the flexibility to do that. We talk about custom fields. You can create a custom field on a work order to put any customer details on there, so people know, hey, this product is owned by, whoever your customers. The use of a virtual warehouse, what we can do is we can create a different warehouse that you can kind of stock inventory into, where you take a product from a customer that you're working on, you can do a stock adjustment, stock that in that virtual warehouse where you don't have to change the SKU. And maybe, for chair, if my chair set is, my SKU is chair, I can stock that chair, but instead of putting it in my main inventory warehouse, where that's the chairs that I own that I've created, I can stock it into this other virtual warehouse at zero value. So if I do a stock valuation report, it's not going to reflect any additional value for me, but I have a way of tracking that this is a customer owned product. Here it is. This is, we have that knowledge. And then doubling up, maybe you add a custom field to that and say, hey, this is owned by so-and-so. Right?
And that would be good for things like obviously auditing, or if a customer calls in and says, hey, where is this product in the repair cycle? You want to be able to know where it is.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. I mean, customers are going to want to know and be confident that you're tracking their inventory.
That you have it on file.
Yep, exactly. And so the third part, the SKUs, current client is doing already as well, where what they do is they add, if it's a customer owned, so whatever SKU they have a corresponding customer owned SKU of that same product. So for example, chair, if the SKU is chair, they have a different SKU in the system, C-chair standing for customer. So they have a way of differentiating, hey, this is a customer owned product versus a product we own. Same thing, you stock it in at zero value, but it gives you that flexibility to track those items. And the beauty of Descara is we can do it in a way that suits you and what your best interests are for your business.
Indeed. Thank you all for joining today's call. If you're interested in learning more, please feel free to reach out to us via email. You can reach out to us at thomas.cole@Descara, taylor.auto@descara.com, or generically you can reach out to us at sales@descara.us. Taylor, any final words for our viewers today?
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. To echo what Thomas said, please reach out to us if you have any questions at all with what we talked about today. Reach out to us via email or even on LinkedIn. We'd love to chat with you, whether that's on flexible BOMs, ad hoc BOMs, or any other feature you may have seen in this video, or any questions at all with how Descara can help your business. We'd love to hear from you and chat more with you.
Awesome. Thank you all again. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Have a good day.
Take care, everyone.